Hi guys, welcome to another episode of That Gardener channel. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about our gardening tools. I think it's a really important topic because as gardeners we are all bombarded by so many selection of different tools that are available in the market. Some are expensive, some are cheap. Just a variety and host of tools that we see also YouTube gardeners using. And I think it's quite important to really focus on the ones that are firstly cost effective, good value for money, and the ones that you use the most. So these are the tools that we're going to be talking about that are great for our garden, and hopefully they're useful for you as well if you don't already have some of these tools. We only have a variety of 10 tools that we use that I think are the most useful and the most cost effective as well, and the ones that we use almost every single day. So let's get going. These are the set of 10 tools that we have that we use quite a lot, including the cat. So the first tool I want to talk about that we use quite a lot, almost on a daily basis, is the hand pruners or the hand shearers. And these are about 3 years old, very heavy duty company called Trappy. Very heavy duty, heavy metal, extremely careful grip. You want to make sure that you get the one with a very strong and good grip, because you can definitely hurt your hands if not. We use this hand pruners on a daily basis to cut the branches, to cut some of the weeds out or some of the dead wood around the garden. So it's a very useful tool, and you want to make sure that it's a good strong one, and you also want to make sure that you keep it clean and rust free as well, out of the water. The next one I want to talk about that we use quite a lot on a daily basis are the hand trowels. I put them in the same category. We use these two hand trowels in different ways in the garden. The deeper hand trowel is quite useful for transplanting, for planting seeds into the soil, and for breaking up the soil, whereas the wider hand trowel is quite useful for actually doing a lot of the heavy duty transplanting when you have bigger plants to transplant, when you have a bigger job in the garden for digging up soil, for mixing the soil, mixing compost into the soil. This is more useful, whereas the deeper hand trowel is more for the digging and for smaller transplanting, where you need a bit more detailed handwork. So the next one I want to talk about is the one that people tend to forget. It's the gloves. These are simple gloves that have lasted us about a year. These are fabric gloves, so you can wash them on a daily basis if you need to. They have nice rubber grips on the top, and they're not too thick, so I love to feel the soil and the plants we're working with. So I didn't want the thick leather gloves. I prefer these thin gloves, and they have lasted us quite a lot of time as well. The next tool I want to talk about is the hand fork, and this is quite a very useful tool because it's really great for mixing up the soil, doing a lot of that weeding as well in the garden. It's a very useful tool for doing a lot of weeding in the garden and also for mixing up the soil gradually. So it's a very useful tool and very delicate tool. So if you're working around small plants, it's a more useful tool for mixing up the soil. The next tool, I don't really know the exact accurate term for this, but we call it the nail. And it's a really useful tool I've found. It's a heavy duty one again, with a metal top, and it's lasted us quite a lot of time as well. We use it for mixing up the soil, breaking up the soil, and it's almost perfect tool for planting seeds because it goes right into the ground. You put the seed and then you mix it up using the tool. So it's a really useful tool that we've been using quite a lot. The next tool I want to talk about is our water sprayer, and people tend to not even include this in their tools, but it is a very useful tool that we use quite often. So we have several of these sprayers, maybe 5 or 6 around the garden, and we use it for different ways. One is for foliar spray using some fertilizer, another one is just water for spraying around the plants. This one is one that we also recycle, so all of them are recycled. Sprays from different cleaning products around the house. We love to use recycled goods, as you know. This one we have put baking soda, and we have another one that we use with rabbit pea, and then we use it for doing a lot of foliar spray for pesticide in an organic way, and also for fertilization around the plant. So another very useful tool is the sprayer. The next tool I want to talk about is the buckets, right? So we have two buckets that we've been using it for now 3 years, believe it or not, very cheap as well. And we use it for absolutely everything. We use it for doing a lot of the chop and drop. So when we are doing collecting weeds or dead leaves around the garden, we throw them in the bucket and then they goes in the compost in the back. So they're quite useful. We also use it for carrying around absolutely everything around the garden. So compost, fertilizers, we use them for that. So we don't have a wheelbarrow. We just use these recycled buckets, and these were the buckets that we were using it for cleaning around the house, and they broke down. So we now use it in the garden. So good way to use the buckets as well. The next tool I want to talk about that we have had for a long time. Next one is of course the watering can. We use it quite a lot. We have been using this watering can for 3 years, and we've been just fixing it and mending it. It has had few of the cracks, but of course a very useful tool for spreading water around the garden. It's a very nice one with the sprinkler system, so it's very gradual on the plants, not very rough. If you use bucket, for example, it can be very rough on the soil and it can have a lot of splash, but with this one it has a nice even flow of water, so it's quite nice. So the next tool I want to talk about is the garden hose, and we have a simple garden hose, as you can see. So we have a simple garden hose, as you can see, and it's really useful tool for us to do a lot of the deep watering around the garden. It avoids a lot of the splash around the garden for water, and it's been quite useful for us. It lasts forever. And then the next two tools that I would like to end the video with are, of course, the shovel that we use quite a lot around the garden, and this is really for moving around the compost, moving around the soil. Sometimes we use it for digging into the soil as well, and we actually share it with our neighbor in the back. It's a great way to actually save on money. If you don't want to spend a lot on heavier tools, you can always share it with your neighbor. One of my favorite tools, and one I use quite a lot around the compost especially, is of course the fork, and this is the heavy duty full length fork. We use it quite a lot around the compost for mixing up the compost, moving around unfinished goods like the compost when it has not completely broken down. We use it for breaking down the compost as well, so you can actually use it for that quite a bit as well. Sometimes we use it for also digging into the soil, so a very useful tool as well. This is a heavy duty one that we use. And that's really it. Those are the main tools that we use around the garden quite a lot. Very cost effective way of gardening. Believe it or not, none of these tools are over $10, so we are quite cost effective in what we buy, and the ones that we use it on a daily basis. Most of them are also recycled goods that we can gather in the garden, that we can gather for the garden, and we love to just make sure that whatever we buy is of good quality, it's heavy duty, it will last us for a long time. And that's really it. So I hope that video was useful for you guys, and I would love to hear in the comment section which tools you find the most useful to use around the garden, and hope to see you on the next one. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit the like and subscribe button, and see you next time. Bye.